Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our virtual farm tour. We are so happy to have you. We are Milk Means More. We work on behalf of Michigan's 1,200 dairy farm families. And while we wish we could take all of you out to a dairy farm, we unfortunately can't do that right now. So we're doing the next best thing, and we're coming to you live through a virtual tour. It's a beautiful day for a farm tour. We've got some great things that we're going to talk to you about. We've got some special guests today, so welcome. Just a couple of housekeeping things. If you have a question, if you have a comment, put it in the chat function in Zoom if you're joining us from Zoom. If you're joining us from Facebook, go ahead and use that comment section as well. We will be monitoring that, and we will get to as many questions as we can. Please know that we also have a list of questions, so yours might be further down in the tour with us today. The other thing, if you are joining us through Zoom, there's a pretty cool new feature. It's closed captioning. So if you want to see those captions popping up and giving you some more tidbits and trivia things and things to look for, go ahead and click on at the bottom of your Zoom panel. There's a button, a CC button for closed captioning. So go ahead and click that on and those will turn on. Those of you on Facebook, it will automatically appear. So you'll get those closed captions right away. So again, welcome on behalf of Milk Means More and Michigan's dairy farm families. We welcome you. We're excited to have you. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. Before we go to the farm, we have a special guest with us. We have Detroit Lions center, Frank Ragnow. Welcome, Frank. Can you tell us what you're excited about for today?
Hi, everybody. I'm just excited to be on the call, be able to see the whole milk process and the dairy process. I wish I was at the farm, but I'm excited to be able to Zoom and see how everything works over there at the farm.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. And we actually have a video that we're going to play now so we can get to know you a little bit better. So we'll go ahead and play that video.
Cheese. Ooh. Cheddar. Cookie dough ice cream. Jared Allen. Protein shakes made with milk, toast, and sometimes yogurt. Oh, Lake St. Clair, Lake St. Clair. One brother and 3 sisters. Fishing. 5-foot long wahoo. 225 pounds, 26 times. I'm passionate about inspiring kids because as I sit in this chair and I kind of look back, I was right there in that position. And I was seeing those NFL Fuel Up to Play 60 commercials, encouraging me to drink milk, encouraging to give my 60 minutes. And it impacted me and it helped me get me to where I am today. So it's very cool to be in a position where I could possibly impact a little Frank one day. What motivates me to eat healthy and fuel my body right is, time. The most precious thing we have on this earth is time. And you don't really know how much time you've got. So you might as well eat healthy and be active and do everything right so you can maximize that time so you can enjoy your life as long as possible, as healthy as possible. It's important to have fun while eating right and staying active because you only get one body and you should be able to celebrate those goals you reach, whether it's with your health, your nutrition, or your fitness. Thank you to Michigan dairy farmers for your support of Fuel Up to Play 60.
That was a fun video. I loved how we started off talking about food and then went in to talk about your passion for inspiring kids and just staying healthy and active. So again, thank you, Frank, for joining us. For those of you who just joined us, we have Frank Ragnow with us from the Detroit Lions. So if you have questions for him, or if you have questions from our dairy farmer, please go ahead and put those in the comment section. If you're on Zoom, put those in the comment section on Zoom. And if you're on Facebook, go ahead and put those there. We are going to be monitoring those and answering those throughout the session. So now we're gonna head out to the farm. It's a beautiful day for a farm tour. With us, we have Jim Reid, who is over on the east side of the state. So thank you, Jim, for inviting us out to your farm. And if you could tell us a little bit about your farm and your family, that would be great to start with.
Well, sure. And welcome all the folks that are participating in this tour today, all the kids and teachers and everybody else. We normally have in-person tours on this farm, but we obviously can't do that this time. But back to the farm. This farm was acquired by my, I guess it would be my great-great-grandfather in 1868. So it's been in the family for over 150 years. We've been milking cows as long as I can remember, probably in the 30s or 40s. I think in the early days, a lot of farms were milking cows for their own use and also for some of the neighbors and stuff like that. But we have a lot of my own family works here. I'll walk over and introduce you to my wife, Pam. You'll see her in a few minutes. We're demonstrating how we feed calves. She does most of the calf feeding. And then my son, Jeff, over here. He's the next generation after me. And then he has a son, Andrew, that helps us out. Andrew is 16 now, so it'd be nice if he could continue the family tradition. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. And I also have a brother that works here too. My brother has the day off, so he's not here today.
Well, it's great to meet Pam and Jeff, and look forward to hearing more from you about how your family works together. I just want to clarify, if you're on Zoom, if you could put your questions in the Q&A. I got my terminology mixed up a little bit, so wanted to make sure that we get those. So Jim, you already mentioned, you gave us a little bit of a teaser that we're going to see the calves, and that's always one of the most popular places on a dairy farm tour. So can you talk to us about how you and Pam and Jeff and the rest of your team create the environment to help the calves grow and thrive?
Sure. I'm going to go into the calf barn here, and here's you can see some of these bright faces. They're this one, look at the tongue. They always want something to suck on, almost like a little baby infant. They have to have a pacifier or something like that. So you can see we tag them. This top date would be her birthday. Come here. This one's about a month and a half old, but I wanted to let's go down a little further. Each one of them, they're raised in the individual pens until they're about 2 months old. And I want to go down, and as you can see, these ones are getting younger as we go. And we just put a couple in here yesterday that are really new. And you can see they're all different. They're colors. They're black and white. It's almost like a fingerprint. They all have a different color. This one here, just standing up. This is our newest one, and you can see she was just born a few days ago.
So, and Jim, can you tell us why they're in individual pens? How does that help you care for them?
Well, they're in individual pens for many reasons. One, of course, was we want to make sure that they get the proper ration. See, almost every few weeks, we change the amount of milk or milk replacer that they get. When they're young, just like an infant would get a small amount. When they're a week old, they'll get a different amount when they're a month old. So we measure that just like you would for a child. And then they also have fresh water and they have grain. And we're trying to get them to consume solid foods, just like, again, I'm going to compare it to an infant. we strive to get a young human child to eat solid foods because you know, it helps them grow faster and so forth.
Okay. And you said that you've got some milk ready to give them. Can you show us that and how they drink that milk?
Sure. Well, I'm going to have my wife, I want to show you this. I mentioned before is what maybe the young kids in our audience are familiar with. Maybe they, you know, maybe they not individually, but maybe they have a brother or sister or a family friend. This is a bottle that an infant would drink out of, and they would get maybe 4 to 5 to 6 ounces when they're first born, you know, the first few weeks. This is what this baby is going to get. It's about a half a gallon. And take a look. Let's see if she wants to drink it. See?
So Jim, we have a question that came in from Laura wanting to know, how do you take care of so many calves?
Well, it's a challenge. I have one person. She's our herds person, a young girl that she's the one that does the ear tags. We keep track of the mothers and even the mother, the father, the grandmother, and so forth. You know, we have a whole basic book on every one of these calves, so we know the background of them, and then we raise them, we feed them, we want them to grow and become a producing cow in about 2 years. It's going to take about 2 years for these things, for these babies to develop, get big enough, and have a calf on their own. They won't be able to milk, obviously, until they have their first calf.
Okay. Mrs. Quinn's class wants to know, how often do calves eat?
We feed these calves twice a day. And they, believe me, they know if we're late. If we're a half hour late from feeding time, they're yelling at us.
Yeah, they like to be on a schedule.
Right.
And then Laura is asking, how much do calves weigh?
That's a good question, Laura. This calf that Pam is feeding right now weighs about 100 pounds. That's a big difference from an infant that weighs, 7 or 8 pounds when they're born. And the interesting thing is these babies will be on their feet within an hour after they're born. It's quite a remarkable thing to watch. They get on their feet. Their mother is right there, cleaning them off, you know, and making sure. I mean, we make sure that the calf is breathing properly, and then the first 3 days, the baby will get the mother's milk. It takes about 3 days for the mother's milk to clear from the colostrum. The colostrum has all the necessary antibodies and vitamins and minerals that the mother produces to get the calf up and running. And then we also, these calves also get vaccinated. They get different things that we give them to make sure that they stay healthy throughout their, you know, especially these first couple months.
Yeah, it sounds like you do a lot to ensure that they're growing into those adult cows. Frank, do you have any questions for Jim?
Yeah, Jim, I was wondering, how are the calves different? Do they have like different spots, different personalities?
Oh yeah, we'll show you one here in a minute. Let's pan over to this other side. Jolene brought up about these calves being in individual pens, and when they're about 2 months old, we try to take them off of milk replacer and get on more of a diet of the younger calves. So we put them into a group pen, and I want to show you this little bugger right here. She's the one that has a personality. Right now, she is pretty mad because she did not get her milk this morning, you know. And so when we take them off of milk, we put them on, they're on a bottle for about a week, and then we train them to go on a pail like you see here. And then when they're about 2 months old, we start to take them off a milk replacer and get them to eat this kind of grain and we put some hay in there too. So about a week ago, this one went to just once a day. And then yesterday we took her right off, and boy, she's not happy. She wants that milk. But she's a big calf. This calf in just 2 months gained probably at least 100 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I would,
That's crazy.
I'd challenge Frank to come out here and pick one of these guys up, you know, because they're besides they're heavy, they wiggle a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, Frank. That's your next fitness challenge.
Yeah. Frank, if you were out here right now, that's what I'd have you do. So maybe maybe you're glad you're not here.
Yeah. Whew.
Well, thank you, Jim, for showing us the calf barn. I know I could spend hours in there. I'm pretty sure Frank could spend hours in there just petting those calves and hearing some more. But because we are on a time limit today, we want to get the students back to their classes. We're actually going to move on, and we're going to learn more about the milking process. So Jim, as you head to the freestyle barn, we're going to talk about how cows get milked. And so dairy cows are milked 2 or 3 times a day, every single day. It depends on the farm and it depends on their management styles. On Jim's farm, they milk cows at 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. And since we are not going to go out to the farm at 4 a.m., we actually went there a couple weeks ago, and we collected some video of him showing us how they milk their cows and how they collect that milk so that we can all enjoy it. So we are going to watch 2 videos. So we'll go ahead and play those now.
Okay, we're going to show you how we prepare a cow for milk. And we start out, everybody that works here, we put on gloves to make sure that not only we're protected, but the cows are protected. We don't want to pass any germs from one cow to this one. So the gloves are on. This cow is ready to be milked, but before we milk her, we go through some procedures. And the first thing we do is we use a sanitizing solution. This is actually an iodine solution. And so we use that. You can see that the heat, we dip the heat in there, and we can see it's dripping right off of them. And then so I dip all 4 of them to make sure it has coverage on all 4 teeth. So that takes just really a very few seconds for it to be clean, sanitized. And then after it's sanitized, we actually start to strip the milk. You can see the milk coming out of that. We wet them for a couple. We're doing this for a couple reasons. We want to make sure that the milk looks right, it's nice and white, to see if there's any abnormalities in the milk. And then we wipe it off. Okay, now what I'm doing now is cleaning the sanitizing solution right off, and I'm also stimulating the cow while I'm doing this. I'm massaging the cow's bed, and that signals to the cow to release the milk. It's a hormone that is naturally produced that helps to release the milk. So this whole procedure should take about 60 to 90 seconds. And now she has released her milk. We've given her enough time. We've stimulated it. The teeth are clean and sanitized. So now we will put the milker in. So the milker is controlled by vacuum. Inside is there's a rubber sleeve inside of there, and when I turn this on, it's vacuum. I turn that on, it pulsates, and it has an action to squeeze, let go, squeeze, let go. Just like a baby calf would be sucking on the cow's. So I'll push the button in, put the vacuum on, and apply it. one of those quarters coming right through there. And again, the vacuum and to some degree gravity brings down here through the hose into the stainless steel pipe, and it travels out into the milk house where I have explained or will explain how it gets into the tank. Okay, one of the things that we have to be aware of is we have to make sure everything that the milk touches is clean and sanitized. And as you can see, it's pretty hard to scrub the inside of all these pipes. So what we do is we use a chemical soap and a chemical acid to clean and make sure the milk is totally off of the piece of equipment. Any of your mothers will know that milk is kind of hard to clean, especially on a glass. Sometimes you have to scrub it, but in most cases, I'm sure your moms will put it into a dishwasher where you can use hotter water. And that's why we use these type of chemicals, and we have we have to use water that is very hot. And this particular specialized water heater will go up to 182 degrees. So we use a very strong soap, very strong acid to wash it, and then prior to milking, we sanitize all of the equipment to make sure it is clean and sanitary, because we are producing the food for human use.
Well, thank you, Jim, for letting us come out a couple weeks ago and collect those videos. You talked a lot about protocols, so I just want to reiterate that for our viewers, that there are protocols that you follow every single day to keep that milk safe, to collect that milk from those cows, and everybody on your farm follows those same things, because keeping milk safe is our #1 priority. We did have a question beforehand a couple weeks ago coming from Mrs. Horse class, asking about the cleaning process. So in that second video, you talked a lot about the hot water and sanitizing the cleaning equipment to make sure that milk is safe and it maintains that. One thing that I wanted to ask you, Jim, and we did have a question come in, sometimes cows get sick, just like sometimes we get sick. So can you talk to us and share with us briefly how we test milk to ensure that it is free and clear of antibiotics?
Sure. Cows, just like any living thing, whether it's a pet or in our case, a large animal, can get sick. And we have a veterinary in our area that we can call on if we have, issues. So he routinely comes to the farm every other week, and we go through we have a routine for cows for him to check. Typically cows, right after they calve, they can be some issues going on with that. And we try to treat them without antibiotics to begin with. There's a few things that we could do to try to get them healthy again. But occasionally we do have to treat a cow with antibiotics, just like a mom would treat their child with antibiotics if there's a toothache or whatever the case may be. So when that happens, we mark the cow and we start a protocol with antibiotics per the direction of the veterinary. And so when we do that, the milk has to be withheld. So we have a method to the cow still has to be milked. I mean, you can't stop milking the cow. So we withhold the milk, it's clearly marked. The people that are milking separate that milk. And in many cases we discard it because, we could feed it to calves, but I don't want, I don't want any issues with the calves, from the milk. So we discard the milk. And then there's a period of time that is labeled to withhold the milk, but we take the extra precaution of testing the milk for antibiotics before we allow that milk to go into the tank where it goes to, for human consumption, whether it's fluid milk or some other dairy product.
Right. Yeah. So it sounds like you have a lot of protocols in that regard as well. I think that's the word of the day is protocols and following those procedures that have been put in place. Frank, do you have any questions for Jim? Oh, Frank, I think, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. Once the milk leaves the farm, how long does it take to get to the store for me to buy as a consumer?
Well, that goes pretty quickly, Frank, to be honest with you. Our milk, we have enough storage. I think you saw a picture of the tank to, we can store it for 2 days. And again, it's fresh milk, it's raw milk, so we have to keep it cold. When it gets picked up here, it's typically by about noon on the day that they pick up. It goes to a processing plant in Livonia, which is only an hour and a half away. And that is where it is pasteurized and homogenized and made into mostly fluid milk. They also do, other products. Cottage cheese, I think, is produced down there, and a few other dairy products. But our milk can, it can go to other processing plants. I mean, they can make ice cream or cheese or, several different products out of the raw milk.
Great. Mr. Lehman's class wants to know, so they asked how many dairy products your cows can make in a year, but let's actually start back at the cow. And how much milk do your cows give in a year?
Gosh, now you're asking a big math question. I'm gonna challenge my students to figure this one out. Okay. Our cows produce about 10 gallons of milk per day. Okay. And we have 230 cows. So let's see if the teachers and the kids can come up with that one. All right.
Perfect. And they can report back to us on that one. I think that's some good homework.
So just one other tidbit, it takes about 10 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of cheese. So there would be a second problem. Maybe the teacher could make a story problem out of that.
Yes, definitely. So Jim, I know you've made your way back over by your freestall barn. So can you talk to us about the environment that you've created for the cows, and maybe we can get up close and personal with some of those milking cows?
Okay. Before I get into that, I asked if we could stand outside for a minute. You see in the background those white tubes. Those are where we store the feed for the cows. And one interesting thing I think I'd like to relay, I want to have you take a look at a sugar beet. We have several neighbors in our area that grow sugar beets, and there's a sugar beet processing plant about 15 miles away. So they process the beet. It looks a big, heavy thing. And the way they process it is they have to extract the sugar. So they take and slice it up into little bitty pieces, and you'll see that in the pail. And that is what's left over after they have extracted most of the sugar. So we get that and feed that to our cows with the rest of their ration. It's a way to use a byproduct of another industry, and it's very sweet smelling. We include it in our ration because it's sweet. It adds some flavor. It's got quite a bit of fiber to it, and the cows, because it's sweet, they like to eat more of it. We're always trying to increase our production, and one way to increase production is to make the food good to eat. Just like the kids in the audience, you prefer eating good tasting food to food that's not so good tasting, right?
Absolutely. That's really cool to see those and hear how you work with other farmers in your area to feed those. So let's go ahead and go in the barn and show us some of those cows and talk to us about the barn and the environment.
Okay, we're entering the barn now, and you can see it's such a bright, sunny day, beautiful day in Michigan. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in any other place, to be honest with you. We've got beautiful colors out there. It's cool. And the cows are happy with this kind of weather. They enjoy this temperature probably the best, anywhere from 40 to 60 degrees. That's their comfort zone. And you can see they're all looking at us. We're getting ready to feed. You can see they've got a little feed. This is left over from last night. We're just getting ready to bring in some more feed, but I want to show you, this is what their ration looks like. And there's a lot of ingredients in there. You can see some long stem pieces. That's important for the roughage. The majority of it is chopped up corn. We call it corn silage. We chop it up in little pieces. We put it in those bags, and it changes color from a green to a brown. That's part of the fermentation process. There's also, you can see pieces of corn. We take corn and smash it up into little bitty pieces so it's easier to digest. There's protein, there's vitamins, there's minerals, everything that these cows need for peak performance. It kind of reminds me of a elite athlete that would have a ration, I would call it a ration, but a diet to make them perform at their peak levels. Right, Frank?
Yeah, that's a good segue. I do want to bring Frank into this conversation about nutrition. And I mean, Frank, you're working hard, you're practicing hard, and you're playing hard. And, in that video, we got to hear what you enjoy for breakfast, and, super excited to hear that, of course, it includes dairy. But can you talk to us about the importance of eating healthy, being physically active? That way we, as growing, young children on our call today, as they're growing, how they can grow their bones and make sure that they stay healthy and fit.
Yeah, being an athlete, my job is to be as healthy and as ready as I can each and every Sunday, really. And part of that is getting my 60 minutes of working out every day. Sometimes I do it by weightlifting. Sometimes we do it by practice. Sometimes we do it just kind of going for a little jog. But you got to get your 60 minutes every day, and then you got to eat healthy. And part of that is getting your 3 full servings of dairy each day. And that will help make strong bones and help make sure we're healthy so that I can perform each and every Sunday to the top of my ability, because that at the end of the day is what I need to do. And I think it's important for each and every one of you kids to do the same, because you only get one body, and you got to make sure you get all your dairy. You got to make sure you get all your exercise, all your nutrients, so you're ready to perform no matter what it is. If it's school, if it's practice, whatever it is, you want to be at the top of your level. Jim, what do cows eat to stay healthy?
Well, we have this blend that I was showing you, and kids, remember I said earlier about sometimes you eat food that tastes good and sometimes there's food that you'd rather not eat. Well, the cows are the same way. One reason we blend this all in together is to put, everything that they need to stay healthy together in every bite that they take. The cows, I wanted to show, we've got some cows that are really posing for the camera here, but these cows, I told you when they're born, they're about 100 pounds. These cows weigh about 1,500 pounds. These are all at least 2 years old. You can see their birth dates on their ear tags, but because, the ration I was describing, remember I told you these cows average about 10 gallons of production per day. That's almost 90 pounds. That's between 85 and 90 pounds of milk they're producing. We want them to maintain that 1,500 pounds of body weight, so they have to eat enough so they don't lose weight. And the third thing, most of these cows have a baby inside of them that is also growing. So it requires a lot of calories, a lot of protein. And, we have a nutritionist that puts together rations that will support all of those things that I just mentioned to keep that cow healthy and growing a calf and producing the kind of milk we want them to produce.
I'm going to jump in here real quick because I know we've only got about 10 minutes left, and I know some classes have to move on. So Want to thank them for joining us. We are going to keep going because I've got some more questions for both Frank and Jim. But we do have a frequently asked questions document on our website, on our virtual farm tour website page at www.milkmeansmore.org/virtual-farm-tour. So encourage folks to take a look at that. We do answer a lot of these questions that are coming in today that you might have, and we've got more questions coming in that we're going to keep moving on with. So Jim, and maybe someone else who's on the farm with you can show us, what do the cows sleep on?
That's a good question. I want to see if I can get a good picture of it, but the cows, let me see. We'll have to, maybe you can see right over there.
Yeah, if you want to talk through it, and they'll find a picture for us.
Yeah. We've got, you can see in the background, all the cows lay on sand. We have clean sand. You know, it's just like they have their own sandbox, soft, keeps them clean. You can see there's a curb there. Those stalls are designed so that if the cow has to go to the bathroom, she's not going to do it in her little bed. She's going to do it out in the, what we call an alleyway. And these cows are milked twice a day. There's some farms, and we used to milk it 3 times a day, which, you know, that's there's nothing wrong with that. But every time we milk these cows, this particular barn that you're getting a picture of, one side will be milked at a time. We clean everything out while the cows are in being milked. So when they come back, these alleyways are completely clean. And, you know, kids, if cows eat a lot, they're going to poop a lot, you know. So we have, that's a whole nother story on how we take care of the manure from the cows.
And while we've got this camera spotlighted, I just want to call out for folks that Jim does have some large fans up at the top of the barn that you can see that will turn on when it gets warm and push some air through. And Jim, it looks like you've got curtains as well.
We do. Those, it's important to keep the cows comfortable. We have to have happy cows. We do everything that we can within our power to make these cows comfortable. They have a clean, soft place to lay down. If they want to get something to eat, they just go up and walk a few steps and get some food. And then there's waters at each end of the barn that is kept clean. We clean them every week to make sure there isn't any, you know, foreign material in there. So they, I tell you, I've had people here before looking at these cows and they say, boy, these cows are taken better taken care of than I am, you know, as the person, you know. I mean, so we go out of our way to make sure that these cows are happy.
Definitely, and it definitely shows as well. They look pretty content. We had a question come in for Frank, so I'm going to turn it on you. We had a question from Gabrielle who asked, who is your favorite quarterback?
Gabrielle, obviously my favorite quarterback is Matthew Stafford, my quarterback.
Great. While we've got you, Frank, I do have a question for you since we're talking to 3rd through 5th graders here today. What was your favorite subject in school?
I really liked history, and I also liked English language arts.
Oh, great. What was your favorite period in time when you studied history?
Probably World War II and World War I. I like learning about the wars. Yeah,
definitely. So Jim, I see you've headed back outside, and we know your farm is very close to a Great Lake. In Michigan, we are all really proud of the Great Lakes and all of the waterways that we have. So can you talk to us about how sustainability is important to you? And you've even got some solar panels. So we'll put a picture up of the barn with the solar panels, if you could talk to us about that.
Sure. Well, first of all, my favorite quarterback is Matthew Stafford too. I want to put in a plug for the Detroit Lions. Yeah, I'm going to swing around this way. The camera is pointing to the east right now, and we're only 4 miles from Lake Huron. So we have to, we want to, and I don't have to, but we want to make sure there isn't anything, manure or anything like that gets into the Great Lakes. I've lived here, our family's lived here for over 150 years, and we want to make sure we pass on this farm and, in better shape than we got it, So that's an important thing for me. I'm going to walk over this way a little bit. And if you can see, I'm going to walk backwards because you can see a pile of sand. And on the other side of that sand, this is the sand that we use to bed the cattle. Maybe if I get right in here, you can see we have a storage facility for our manure. Okay. And it's, we just had it cleaned or emptied out about a month ago. We tried to empty it out once a year, but we use the nutrients. Again, this is manure we're talking about. We reuse that. We spread it. We put it on our fields after we harvest in the fall, and we work it in. And then in the spring, that manure is the fertilizer to grow the crops, to feed the cows, to make the milk and the manure. And again, the manure is taken back out into the field to grow the crops, and that cycle just continues year after year. So it's a good natural fertilizer. We treat our crops just like our cows. We're monitoring the nutrient levels in all of our fields to make sure we don't over fertilize them. And if we under fertilize them, we will add some commercial fertilizer to bring it up to produce a crop that we need to feed the cows.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of precision goes into caring for the environment, the ecosystem around you, just like the cow's habitat that you were talking about earlier. Just a couple more questions, just because we've got just a few more minutes. So Frank, a little bit ago, Jim talked about that he works with a nutritionist to help him make a balanced diet for his cows. We know that he also works with a veterinarian who helps him care for his cows, and he works with an agronomist to help him care for the plants that he grows. Who are some of the experts that you work with as a professional athlete?
Yeah, I have a nutritionist as well. We've got athletic trainers that'll work on kind of like, I guess you could say, a veterinarian, working to make sure that all my body parts are healthy, whether it's my knees, my ankles, my shoulders. I've got a position coach who coaches me technique. He's kind of a professional. Then we got a coordinator who coaches the whole offense. And then we got a head coach. I got a masseuse. We work with all kinds of different specialists trying to make sure me, like a cow, I guess, can perform at our optimal levels.
Yeah, sounds like it takes a team to keep your team moving and playing each Sunday.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Frank, I have another question for you, and I laughed when I saw this one come through. So my apologies, because this is what we ask people in the state of Michigan. Mrs. Summers' class wants to know MSU or U of M.
Oh man, Mrs. Summers' class. I'd have to go. I grew up in Minnesota, so I guess I don't really have any sort of ties to either, but I went to school at the University of Arkansas, and my strength coach at the time is now at the University of Michigan, so I'm going to have to go with Michigan.
All right. Sorry to put you on this spot. But for everybody who joined us today, we thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking your time to come along on the virtual farm tour. Frank, thank you so much for joining us and asking some questions. And Jim, thank you for opening up your farm to us. We wish we could be there in person. But for those folks on the line, we do have one more virtual farm tour coming up this Thursday, October 15th, again at 10 a.m. This one will be geared towards middle school and high school students, and we're going to focus on careers in dairy, but anyone is welcome. We will also live stream it from Facebook as well. And again, if you ever have any questions about dairy farming, dairy foods, visit us at www.milkmeansmore.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And again, if we didn't get to your questions, we do have a frequently asked questions document on our website that we encourage you to go there. And if your question's not answered there, send us a message and we'll reply with those answers. But we did go through a lot today. We saw the calves, we saw the milking process, we heard about the environment, we heard from Frank and his role as a professional athlete. So we hope you enjoyed your time with us today. And again, thank you for joining us on behalf of Michigan's dairy farm families.